This is Live Bet Saturday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Welcome back in, everybody. Fresh hour of Live Bet Saturday with Geoff Schwartz. I'm Ben Wilson, taking you through the rest of Final Four Saturday. Big shout out to our producer, Jody Campbell, everybody else helping out behind the scenes at our Circa Sportsbook studios in downtown Las Vegas. Great action, as always, at Circa here, with a lot of patrons starting to get a little nervous, Geoff, if they've got action here, and you've got action on both ways with Florida and Auburn. But this kind of feels, as you take a look, live shot at the book right now, feels like danger time here for Auburn. We're starting to get killed on the glass. Florida's gotten a couple of bounces to go their way. And as we near the under 8 media timeout, it's Florida 60, Auburn 58, and Florida laying 2.5 live. At the same time as all that, Geoff, we've really seen a drop in the scoring, and we're down to 154.5 on the total, by far the lowest we've been at all day.
Yeah. As sort of we talked about, there's a possibility for this to just sort of shut itself down. The one question becomes obviously the fouls, right? I mean, Florida's already in the bonus. Auburn's close to being in the bonus. If that becomes an issue in this game, then obviously the total can certainly go up. But Auburn has really slowed down. And I'm not saying it's the wrong way to go about this, but can you keep up with Florida if you slow the game down? You have to finish every possession with a basket, and that's my concern about Auburn. Now, another foul on Florida here, so both teams in the bonus after the next Florida foul. So we could see scoring pop back up a little bit now as it gets a little more physical and teams slow it down. But that's my concern about Florida is or Auburn, I should say, if they're slowing it down that much, can they keep tempo if Florida makes a couple shots? That's my concern with Auburn.
On how has that played out so far in these games where Florida's had to come back? UConn had a 9-point lead in the second half, playing more of a slower type of style. As soon as Florida made a run on them, UConn was not really able to match that sort of tempo, get back into the game, as we've talked about plenty with the Texas Tech loss that I and many others unfortunately suffered. But the same deal applied, right? It was a 9-point lead for Texas Tech. As soon as Florida hits them with that run, of course, in that game it happened much later than in the UConn game. There was an inability for Texas Tech to try to create, get better, get better flow on offense, even though they had a wide open three that they missed, that people will easily will remember, will forget in hindsight. But that's besides the point. What is obvious though is that's I think where the challenge becomes of playing Florida for 40 minutes. That they're such a tough team to try to negate in that sort of sense. And the one thing that was maybe a little underrated here going into this last media timeout, Bruce Pearl's been taking Janiyah Broome out just with maybe 30 seconds to 45 seconds before all these media timeouts to give him an extra breather. Well, there was a long stretch without a stoppage, so Broome stayed in that whole time. He gets fouled as we go to the media timeout here and was a little slow to get up, was just kind of tumbled over with one of the Florida bigs inside. But that's another part of this is Broome. I mean, the later you go, there's really less time, Geoff, you can really afford taking him out of the game. Like, he kind of just has to suck it up and you hope for the best at this point.
He seems winded. I tell you, so he has the elbow, right? And the knee, is that the two injuries?
Correct, yes.
Yeah. So one thing that you've noticed if you're watching the game, guys who have leg injuries, and I can certainly speak on this, they fall down a lot. He has fallen down a ton tonight. And that again, that wear and tear of falling down, getting off the floor, it's hard on your body. And I think we're seeing it in his offense. I mean, the previous possession, he's down in the paint, and early in the game, he rose up and made those shots. Now that shot was a little short. And I think we're seeing that tiredness of the team. Florida is much faster right now. They're playing faster. Now, Auburn's sticking in it, of course, but it does feel like Florida is just a tick faster than them as the game gets a little bit longer, and Broome looks a little tired as we continue on.
Sure thing. And Broome back out there as we start this under 8 media timeout session.
He's got to play.
154.
He has to play.
Exactly. That's what we're saying. He has to. Gotta get out there and suck it up. Just, Geoff, just like, you out there in 100-degree humid temperatures. And then
we're talking about break.
No excuse.
No excuse.
I'm here from the
play through it.
I'm at the lovely Marriott in Jacksonville right now, Geoff, where I did not realize that it gets 90 degrees with like a cajillion% humidity in early April. And I wonder, did Geoff Schwartz ever play an NFL game at Everbank Stadium? And it turns out you did week 1 with the Kansas City Chiefs in 2013. And you lived to tell the tale. So apparently people can survive the weather down here.
I also think I ate at Dave & Buster's the night before, which is pretty impressive to have a little Dave & Buster's before you play an NFL game. But it was by our hotel. I met my uncle there. He was in town, and I think I walked from the hotel over to Dave & Buster's. A little Dave & Buster's, little Jacksonville Jaguars football. Yeah, we won. I think it was 21-2. I think Jacksonville opened up the scoring with a blocked punt for 2 points, and we scored 3 touchdowns in a row. And Andy Reid's first game as a Kansas City Chiefs head coach. Started 9-0 that season. It was a fun year.
Were you also playing the games at Dave & Buster's? Like, were you going Papa Shot after downing wings? Or what?
Don't remember. Do not remember that part of it. But I do remember that I walked across the hotel parking lot, like through a bush. I saw like a lizard or something. Like it was a Florida thing. Yeah. But no, I mean, look,
Florida.
Those hot games, you just have to suck it up. I mean, it is what it is. Just like Broom, right? Like you have 7 minutes left. This is Auburn just hit a huge 3. This is why you're here at Auburn, right? You're here to win Final Four games and play championship games. You can rest after the season, and you're still effective. Now again, should he be the offense like he was early in the game? I don't know. But here's I think where the issue might lies. Defensively, he just can't move as well. And if Florida attacks him, can they get him? Are there fouls? Are there things like that can get him, out of the game or whatnot? Can you get to the foul line, right? If you go at Broom a little bit more, but a huge 3 by I don't know who hit the 3. Oh,
that was Chad Baker-Mazara, who just went over his point prop with that 13 for Baker-Mazara. You could have gotten plus money too on over 11.5 points for Baker-Mazara. There was some 10.5 out there as well. I mean, between he and Broom, I mean, those were the 2 guys that were the big reason because of their injury status, Geoff, why the market was so slanted toward Florida in what ordinarily would probably be more like a pick 'em. And those 2 guys have been awesome, even if they have had limitation.
Yeah, I get that. But look, I just think Auburn hasn't played a full game in a month. Like the Kentucky game about a month ago was the last time that I think, and maybe correct me. I mean, I guess the Maryland game was pretty much good start to finish. Am I right on that? I think it was good start to finish. No, not Maryland. I think of another team. Who played Maryland?
Florida was who played Maryland in the Sweet 16.
Yeah, but look, the Creighton game that they had, they were down at halftime, right? Michigan game, we know they need that run at the end, right, to win that game. Michigan State game, we know, right, second half comeback. Like they just haven't had a full 60-minute game in a long time, and Florida's played better. So I get the number, even if guys were hurt about why it was where it was set.
Sure thing. Yep, absolutely. And there were a lot of very smart, respected people who were on the Florida side all week, which is what ultimately started to drive the number up. We do get a timeout after a make by Florida, gives the Gators a 1-point lead back here. So this continues to trade back and forth. Florida minus 1.5, 157.5. Now your total. So the NCAA tournament has been remarkable, Geoff, for producing some totals that have been right on numbers. And here we go again, 158.5. How about some Florida totals? I mean, there was the craziness. I won't complain about any more bad beats because I did have the Florida UConn over that was that needed like 25 points in the last 2 minutes and somehow got there with the garbage time 3 by UConn to land the game a half point over. So we've seen a lot of carnage with those totals, and I have to feel like we're going to be very close to that again because as long as the score line stays kind of where it's at, like we're not going to get the big foul game here late, and it's all going to come down to execution in the half court, which both teams have been great at for about 95% of this game tonight.
And we have had those moments where they're sort of going on runs, and once they get out in space, they are scoring pretty quickly. But to your point, we're not going to see that last 5 minutes of the game, right? They're going to take the full shot clock. They're going to just try to control the tempo pace. The only thing is, if you have the over, is that both teams are in the bonus and almost to the double bonus, right? So if you have the over, that's what you are leaning on here. Can I update you with a number? Minnesota Timberwolves, Sixers, halftime, 55-51 Timberwolves. Looks like it's 12.5. Are you comfortable with that number yet? Minnesota.
Let's see. I'm looking around. I'm seeing if you go to Caesars, you can lay 10.5. I like. If you can lay, so Caesars has minus 6.5 for the second half. Minnesota up by 4. Yeah, that is a bet I'd happily make. I'm seeing DraftKings -7.5, -115. And other books out there, a couple of offshores are 8.5, Geoff. So, yeah, if you're in a Caesars market, go ahead and play that second half. Minnesota Timberwolves over Philadelphia 76ers. And thank you for letting me know that game had reached half, because that's a great number, I'd say, to exploit on the Caesars -6.5 there.
Yeah, I'm looking right now. I'm trying to find go through my books to see which one I got. We have a Caesars in North Carolina. I don't think I haven't signed up for it yet. It's like I've kept 2 books off to the side in case I get limited on all of them. Then I could just like go. But
hey, no time like the present to go explore that one of those 2 books you've yet to get.
This one doesn't have. BetMGM doesn't have a halves up right now, but it's going to be the game is 12.5. So I would imagine that we're not getting that 6.5 or whatever. It's a bummer.
For what it's worth here, Circa just opened Minnesota -9 second half. So I beg people, if you're hearing us, if you're in a Caesars jurisdiction, even if you don't even agree with us on the analysis, just lay the 6.5. We're begging you here, because the market's about to be 8.5, 9 in a second. Real quick before we hit a break, the VEASAN Summer Special is here, and it's the best deal of the season. It's just $59. You get VEASAN Pro access to everything we do through August 1st. 50% off the regular monthly price. Get expert picks, betting, splits from DraftKings and Circa, 24/7 video access on the VEASAN Watch app. And how about this? Our Kentucky Derby betting guide is included, and the NFL betting guide coming out later on this summer. VSIN.com/subscribe through August 1st for just $59. Under 6 minutes to play. Florida by 1 in the Final Four. Great finish. Coming up next on Live Bet Saturday.
This is Live Bet Saturday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're back on Live Bet Saturday, and Walter Clayton Jr., is he that man or what? Geoff Schwartz, 27 points, cold-blooded, just hits a 3 to put Florida up by 4, their largest lead tonight. And this is the first time the Gators have been covering the entire game with 4:10 to go. 2.5-point closing favorites. They're now -3.5 live, 156.5 the total. I'm here at the Marriott in Jacksonville, where I can hear people banging on things on the other side of the hotel walls. And people are fired up here in North Florida for their Gators, who will lead it by 4 with 4:09 to go. And like, my one concern is someone who I didn't bet on it. I know you did, Geoff, but I wanted Auburn for an opportunity for me and in bracket pool purposes to still be live to win. Needed it to be Houston over Auburn exacta. My fear for Auburn is that they would not be able to contain the 3-point shooting for the entire 40 minutes. And Clayton's gotten hot. Now Auburn just answers with a massive triple of their own. So this is going to come down to shot making, pure and simple, Geoff, over the last 4 minutes.
It is. Look, the over interests me as well, because it looked like it was obviously very clearly going to go over the first 4 minutes. Now it looked like it was going to be under, and now it looks like it might be over again. I mean, the pace, Florida's not going to slow it down, right? I mean, that's just not what they are. And Clayton goes right to the hole. He misses the layup. It looked like he got fouled. A lot of complaining of the officiating today, if you've noticed. A lot of hard contact not being called sometimes, and I don't know. I mean, I'd rather have a game, I guess, less officiated than over officiated.
I mean, for what it's worth, this has been such a good game. Outside of one sort of needless review at the end of the first half, there was a flagrant one that was somewhat obvious. I kind of had to go review it. I mean, I'd much rather the refs let them play a little bit here. 69-68. We have our final media timeout. A foul going on the inside. Florida will have throws on the other side. So it's Florida -2.5 live. 156.5 is your total so far. If you're tracking these player props on the points, Walter Clayton already over.
Yeah, way over.
He cashed way over the 20.5. If you kind of laddered, he did some alts on Clayton. You're feeling really good about yourself right now. He's cashed a lot of those alts as well. A huge game for Chad Baker-Mazara. He's gone over either 10.5 or 11.5, depending on the book that you got that. And then how about Elijah Martin, who's had 2 just sensational highlight reel dunks in the open floor, over 14.5 at plus money for Elijah Martin. He has 17 tonight. And we're at the same time, we're also just waiting on Janiah Broome. Now, he's He's really slowed down. You're in pretty. What was your number, Geoff? Point, rebound, assist. You went under on Broom. He has 23 right now, so you're in good shape.
Yeah, he slowed down. I think it was 30.5 because it was a faraway shop because some of the domestic shops don't offer unders for college basketball player props. Let me double check here to find the number for you. 31.5 points under point two minutes. I got it at plus 100.
We're cooking with gas. You got a
money?
little.
Let's see what I got. That's what I got. Yeah.
Hey, you're ahead, to say the least. Before we get into this final flurry, which will focus on the college basketball kind of in earnest here down the home stretch, and we will still have some really good guests coming up to talk about other stuff, including the second game of the night. We'll have Scott Bondar from FantasyGuru.com. He'll have the privilege, Geoff, of joining us for the final chaos here coming up in about 12 minutes or so on the show. But a couple quick updates for games that are in progress. We mentioned that Minnesota-Philadelphia game. That second half's gotten steamed. Some places are offering Timberwolves -6.5 for the second half. That is now -9 against Philadelphia. Detroit, 1-point lead at the half over Memphis. Got some late money toward the home dog Pistons tonight. They are a pick'em for the second half, up 47-46. And we just started in Miami, 5-3 lead for the Heat over the Milwaukee Bucks in a game that had a ton of movement to the under from 214.5 down to 209 or 209.5. And then as far as the baseball, Geoff, break up those Cincinnati Reds after scoring a combined 2 runs in 4 games. They've scored 7 on Milwaukee tonight, 7-1 lead for the short underdog Reds. You could have got them at plus 113 at a couple places in the market. They are up 7-1 in the top of the 5th. And something you briefly touched on, Geoff, we'll get back to it here just for a second, but the struggles of the Atlanta Braves and whether there is actually some value still in fading them in season-long markets as they are trailing again down 3-0 as over $2 favorites tonight to the Miami Marlins. But A.J. Smith-Shawver has really struggled out there today against a lineup viewed to be pretty weak as far as the Marlins are concerned.
So our buddy Chris Felica, one of his best bets on our Bear Bets podcast was the Braves to miss the playoffs at plus money still. And he did the calculations like how many wins they need to make the playoffs in the National League. And I don't think that the NL West will continue to be as good as it is, but right now the NL West has 9-1, 6-1, 7-2, 5-4. And Arizona's 5-4, right? They were supposed to finish, I think, second or third in the division. Giants have played really good baseball so far. So, I mean, you gotta catch up, and you play in division with the Phillies and Mets. Like it's gonna be hard. You play those teams nearly 20 times a year, right? Each one of them. So, it does feel like the Braves have an uphill battle. I mean, look, 7 losses, and look, if you lost 7 in the middle of June, I think no one would blink at it, right? But to start the season, right, 0-7. It sets a bad tone. And I know they're missing players. Like I know that they need guys and they'll get those guys back and maybe that'll juice them up a little bit. But there's also a possibility to buy back at some point when those guys come back at some point later in the season.
Especially when you see a clear warning sign early and clear struggles for a team that, might not just be an easy flip of the switch for the Atlanta Braves going through that right now. The other one baseball score, and then we'll get back to the basketball here for the rest of that game. Yeah. Jacob deGrom looking very good tonight for the Rangers. 4-1 lead is about $1.75 home favorite against Taj Bradley and the Rays. That game in the 5th inning, as we don't have a score yet in Blue Jays Mets. Nothing in the 4th, and they're just underway. We'll root for Jeff's Athletics team total over 4.5 against Gerard Marquez and the Rockies. They just started there in the top of the 1st. What a just zany sequence here in San Antonio. So first, Florida misses the front end of the 1-1 with Alex Conant at the line. They get the offensive rebound, then get stripped. Auburn has a wide open 3 that goes halfway down and out. Then Florida turns it over again, where Todd Golden, the head coach, is just irate, begging for a foul call that he doesn't get. But Auburn has another empty trip. I mean, this thing, and now Walter Clayton streaks by the Auburn D and lays it in. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better couple sequences and a couple opportunities, Geoff, for Auburn to take the lead here, and they've just been unable to buy a bucket over the last couple minutes when they need it the most. The
Clayton factor is so big as we talk about, this is the type of player, right, that these tournament teams, the ones that win, have a player like him. Now, the player for Duke is Cooper Flagg, which typically is not 6'10", who does that. It's a guy like Clayton, but having that score in these moments, like Auburn doesn't have, maybe it's Broom when healthy, but they don't have that score as Broom gets he missed it. Oh, they called the foul. They don't have that player. They don't have that guy on their team like a Clayton that can make a play in these big moments when they're stuck offensively. And it's been a huge difference in this game. I'm not saying anything that we don't know, but that feels like a big problem for Auburn as they close the game out.
Meanwhile, Janiah Broom who is a 59% free throw shooter, about to go to the line with 2 minutes and 2 seconds left. His team down by 3, and officials are going to the monitor. Here is our colleague Will Hill likes to joke, the monitor, the going to be in the one shining moment montage with all the replays.
Bruce Pearl so angry about?
I'm not sure what they're reviewing here. It's not like that was a flagrant by any means, so I'm not sure. It's been a crazy, as we mentioned, zany sequence. While we wait on that review, quick word here, as we have been showing you live shots of Circa and how awesome the crowd has been tonight down there. First of 2 Final Four games. If you want to get down and check out Circa if you're a VSiN fan, it is your time, because Circa Las Vegas owner Derek Stevens is offering you 15% off at 3 incredible properties, Circa, the D, and Golden Gate. You can save big with promo code VSiN15. So book your stay now at circalasvegas.com. Use code VSiN15 to get 15% off your Vegas adventure. Starts here. I mean, that was, and really from Tanner Houck, a very smart foul to take on Broom, Geoff, considering the struggles he's had at the free throw line. And they're looking, I think there was another. Actually, Houck, was not the one. It was Condon who committed the foul, but Houck was involved in another play off the ball, which is, I think, what they're reviewing here for a potential flagrant on the Auburn side off the ball. So a lot to sort out as well. And now there's also Ice's Broom at the line, too, who has had his struggles at the stripe this season.
Oh, jeez. I mean, we just play basketball. Do we just watch into the game and not have to have the officials be involved? I mean, it's not a flagrant foul in Auburn. I mean, I guess, look, I'll take it back. I don't know the college basketball rules. It looks like it's just a foul, not a flagrant foul on Auburn, but you can't go back and give that a foul, right? They didn't call on the floor. You can give a flagrant. It doesn't feel like a flagrant foul. So I don't know. Bruce Pearl, I think, just screamed at the official. I saw a tweet that said, what are we doing here? Because there's nothing. I don't know. I can't listen. What are they saying? Well, we're going to break now.
We are going to break, and Thomas Houck doing his best sell job there for Florida. Still a 3-point game. We'll clean it all up when we come back, and also bring in a guest on the other side. Great to chat with our pal Scott Bondar from FantasyGuru.com right after this.
This is Live Bet Saturday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We welcome you back. Live Bet Saturday rolls on as we are down to the final 1 left from San Antonio, and Walter Clayton Jr., Geoff Schwartz.
Yes.
To be a man amongst boys tonight, gets the and one right after Janiah Broom clanked 2 free throws at the line. Florida 6-point lead. Auburn misses a 3. However, the Tigers do just get a scrum, and they force a tie-up. So this is probably the last stand right here for down by 6 with a minute.
Yeah. They're gonna get a tie up here. 74-68. 1 minute left here. Everyone has their timeouts, and the foul situation. Auburn, Florida. Auburn double bonus. Florida's not quite there yet, so we'll keep you going here throughout the rest of this game. Got about a minute left here. If you have the over, unlikely to get home. If you have Florida, seems likely to cash now. If you had Auburn ticket the entire game, Ben, you thought you had Auburn cashing for most of the game. It feels unlikely to happen here unless a couple big threes. And Florida shoots the foul shots well, which is very helpful at the end of these basketball games, which we'll talk about Duke later. It's one reason why I like Duke. They make their foul shots.
Not a great for Chad Baker-Mazara to go with the classic up and down travel either there, Geoff.
Ooh, oh no, that's that's not great. Yeah, they're just almost just falling apart, man. They just are. They're just not ending this game well, which we talked about. I think Florida is better suited to end these games like this. 3.5
to go, 6-point lead here for Florida on top. So we'll keep you posted on how that goes. We don't want our guests waiting any longer. Let's go out there. Guest line, Scott Bondar joins us right now to talk about.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
All right, Scott. Well, Ben there will work through his connection there. Scott, how you doing tonight, buddy? Enjoying the action?
Yeah, it looks like I had Auburn winning it on that side of the bracket, so it doesn't look like I'm going to be taking home any money anytime soon.
I mean, we all have our survivors in our brackets here. So we brought you in to talk a little college basketball. As you approach the end of this game, is there any wager left to make? 74-68 right now? I don't think so, but anything on your mind?
No, not at this point. I think, the next game might be some interesting plays, but I don't see anything at this point. I mean, it looks like Florida's going to be able to close this out, and I'm not looking at any kind of live bets at this point.
All right, let's talk Duke Houston. Low total there. Anything on your mind with the total?
Well, I mean, these two teams play defense pretty well, and I do think it is going to be an under. It's going to be a slow game. I figure, Duke should be able to control the tempo as well as Houston's defensive slowing things down. So I would take the under if we're going to be looking at it that way.
Is it easier, you think, in this matchup to go first half under, maybe based off of how the first game went, where it went over? You look at a first half under, both these teams sort of filling each other out. And also, I think the officiating in this game, right? If the officiating is going to be one direction, basically they're going to let them play. It does feel like an under. If they're not going to let them play, maybe an over. So is there a play in the first half, you think, just sort of figuring out what the officials will give you?
Man, these officials in this game here are just atrocious. I mean, so I don't know if what's going on with them today. So if it's the same crew, I would imagine the under in the first half is probably going to be a lock at this point, because these guys tonight have been just horrible.
It's another theme for all the games, though. I don't want to be the guy that bashes the officials. That's not what I want to be. But it does feel like that's a constant theme of these games, right? Where one half is called one way, the second half is called a different way. But it does feel like the Duke, Houston game, it does feel more important for the style of either team what the officials are going to be, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then, if you've watched 95% of these games, it comes down to free throws. I mean, these guys missing free throws for Texas Tech really cost them in that Florida game. I mean, that game was obviously unbelievable for Florida, but if they had hit free throws, Texas Tech, would be playing tonight. So the referees are gonna control the game, whether or not, the teams can make the free throws is the big difference.
So Duke does make their foul shots. So that's why I have Duke to win the second half, or to cover, I should say, -1.5. I was like, I think the first half is going to be very close. I think Duke will pull away. I think it's just better than Houston. Is Duke's second half a play worth making now, based on maybe how the game might go? But also, they make their foul shots. They're a great foul shooting team.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely taking Duke in this game. I love Houston. I love them. They've been great all year. I just think Duke is just too good overall, and 1.5. I definitely agree with you on that one. That's something that I'd be interested in going at the same situation.
Any player props catch your attention here? Obviously, we know Cooper Flagg's been great in this tournament. Cryer, Sharp, anything that's caught your attention for maybe an over points?
No, not really. I I had some things earlier in the tournament, but I kind of moved off of those, because it was, it's so erratic. I mean, these games, it could be one guy. I mean, Clayton's pretty much been the guy that's been pretty consistent throughout the whole tournament for Florida, but and obviously Flagg. But I wouldn't take any prop bets.
Quick update here on the current game. 76-71 for Florida. 31 seconds left. Auburn has the ball, I believe. Florida has the ball. I was talking to you right here, but 76-71 here. Looks like Florida's probably going to end up winning this game. Now, who covers? I don't know. Auburn's hit a couple threes. Certainly possible that they might get back in this game. turning our attention to maybe some baseball here. We have a bunch of games happening right now. The Brewers have caught back up almost with the Reds. Blue Jays and Mets 1-0. Marlins, Braves. Any play in the Braves maybe here? I know that hasn't been great for them this season, but down 3-0. Can they come back? Is it worth taking them to win this game live?
Yesterday, I was really on them. They scored obviously 10 runs yesterday. I did like Ozuna tonight. The homer, that hasn't happened quite yet. He hits really well in against the Marlins, his old team. But it's only 4-0, right? That's the last I saw. So it's kind of get into the late innings. The relief for Miami isn't as well as it should be, but. I can't trust Atlanta. They're going to be kind of, treading water for a little bit there. I have no problem seeing them, get back up to 500 eventually. But at this point, it just looks like they're just gassed from yesterday's emotional win, probably.
One wager I've been making every game, and I love to get your opinion on this. I think the Rockies pitching is bad. It's the bullpen's even worse than the starting pitching. I've been taking the team total over for their opponent now. And they haven't played great opponents early on. It's been hitting. It's sporadically hitting. Obviously, they did play the Phillies. But A's right now down 2-0. Colorado just hit a home run. Is it worth playing A's team total, just looking at where Colorado's bullpen is going to be at some point in this game, and obviously the altitude and the propensity for runs, I should say, in Colorado?
Yeah, the A's did look great at home. I think Sacramento kind of doesn't play as great as Colorado does, but they've looked very well early on in the season. So I like the idea. Definitely the pitching staff for Colorado is not where it should be, and the bullpen is just as bad. That's an interesting play. What was the over? 4.5.
Yeah, I got 4.5. Yeah. I'm doing it every game. It's just a small sprinkle every game, sort of see how it goes first couple of weeks. But I think their pitching is just going to be atrocious this year. So I'm just trying to take advantage of that best I can, especially early in the season when the numbers are a little bit lower. Let's get to 2 games that haven't had the first pitch yet. Mariners at the Giants. Giants 6-1, won that game in the 11th. A high-scoring game yesterday, 10-9. You have some player props you like.
Yeah, in these 2 games, I think starting out with the Giants-Mariners, I'm focusing on the right-handed hitters against Robbie Ray. Ray's given up both his home runs against right-handed hitters, so I definitely like Cal Raleigh. He switch hits, but he's going to be batting right against him. He's got a couple hits the last couple outings. You can get over 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs, which is kind of equivalent to the NBA's assists, points, rebounds. At plus 120. So I think the value's there. It's enticing to get a plus 120 for someone that, literally could, hit a double and hit a home run and have no problem on this one. So, and then also leading off Victor Robles, this guy was like dead in the water here. I'm a Nationals fan, and he was pretty much DFA'd, out of the league, and he's kind of rejuvenated himself in Seattle. He's got a 280 average against lefties. Obviously Robbie Ray is another guy that will give up a lot of power, fly balls. So I like him tonight. I like him in the same bet, 1.5 hits plus runs plus RBIs. He's at minus 110. And then on the other side of the, I like Robbie Ray under 7.5 strikeouts. I don't know why it's that high. That's minus 118. Yep. He's coming back from injury, and I don't know how far he's going to come into deep pitch into the game. So he could be limited.
We got to get out. Thank you. So we'll take a minute.
This is Live Bet Saturday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We're back on Live Bet Saturday, Game 1 in the books of this Final Four. Geoff Schwartz, and luckily for you jumped in live a couple times on the Florida Gators because, like they have done seemingly this entire tournament, man, it's been a Florida onslaught in the last 4 to 5 minutes of these games, and they do it again. 79-73 win over Auburn. If you were an over better, Geoff, you got off to the great start and you watched your over just slip a sad, slow death as Auburn could not buy a shot in the last few minutes. So Florida covers, game stays under, and the Gators find a way to do it again.
Yeah, look, in these moments where you need to score points and you need to make the big plays, Florida just tends to seem to have the athletes to do that. Clayton's obviously a big part of that, but the last 10 minutes, they rebounded better. They made more shots. Auburn looked tired. They looked a little bit like they were lethargic, and it certainly played out that way the last couple of minutes of this game. So I'm glad I got off that Auburn wager and ended up hitting that Florida live one. So I'll take it.
And we are 1 down and 1 to go. And arguably as great as when you have a 1-versus-1, you figure it's going to be a great game. That was a really fun game to watch. Kind of disappointing maybe how Auburn slipped a little bit and did not finish. But alas, we have the game that's been even more highly anticipated coming up in about a half hour with Duke and Houston. And to help preview that game, also we'll get some first glance reaction to what just happened, since he was just watching it like the rest of us. It's Anthony Dabbundo from the Ringers, who go out to our progressive guest line right now. You can give Anthony a follow at Anthony Dabbundo. That's Dabbundo, as Anthony joins us right now from outside of some sort of establishment. I don't know which one, or how. I don't know. How were the patrons reacting where you were at there, Anthony, to how game 1 wrapped up, and how did you make out betting wise on the game?
Yeah, I'm up in Syracuse, New York this weekend, and I'll tell you what, we had an Auburn table right next to us, and we had a Florida table across the bar, and so it kind of got really fun there for a while. The whole bar was really into the game, and so it was nice. And, this tournament, it hasn't produced a ton of late drama for us, but I feel like I was living and dying on every bucket there down the stretch run. Ultimately had Auburn first to 10, first half, and full game. So almost got the full way there, but we'll take it, and we're on to another great matchup.
Yeah, did anything surprise you in that first game? I wasn't terribly surprised by the end result. I think I was surprised by Auburn coming out so fast. But anything surprise you in the first game?
Yeah, I think the Broom thing certainly was the biggest factor in the second half, where they ran so much of their offense. They run so much of it through him. And in the first half, they were getting easy looks, kind of taking advantage of Florida's post defense, which hasn't been very good, and it hasn't been very good in this tournament. Hasn't graded out well. Really, through the synergy data. And yet you saw, I think, in the second half, just the amount of bodies they're able to throw at Broom, even if it's not necessarily the most efficient defense or the dominant defense, the fact that they can throw different looks at him really started to wear him down and frustrate him. And then, it's just the big thing with Auburn that we kind of wondered down the stretch is these teams have so many bouts of just bad basketball, and they're able to overcome it so much of the year, especially down the stretch run here. But against another elite team like Florida, they just couldn't. And Clayton took over the game. I mean, nobody else on Florida seemed like they wanted to shoot the ball in the last 5 minutes. Clayton's like, sure, I'll go get a basket.
34 for Walter Clayton Jr. His point prop was a paltry 20.5, and that thing easily cashed over. To your point, Anthony, on the Janai Broom, some of the struggles and how Florida was defending him, he finishes well under his point prop, under 19.5, as Broom finishes there with 15 points. Okay, on to the game that we are now all super fired up to see play out. Houston has been taking a little bit of money after this line peaked. Duke -5.5, total sitting 136.5. First off, what do you make of this sort of steady move all week? Is bettors are certainly buying what they're getting as far as a point spread, getting the 5 points with Houston, as we're now down to a 4.5 point spread.
Yeah, it's been kind of teetering all week, right? 4.5, and then Duke takes money, it goes to 5.5. I think you're seeing a pretty consistent sharp buy on Houston at 5.5. And look, I respect it. I get it. I think it's very hard to make a power rating system that would make Houston a 5.5 point underdog, this Houston, to any college basketball team ever. And so that's kind of where people are like, this has gotten way too out of hand. But when I dive into the matchup, I really don't love this matchup for the Houston offense. I don't think it's a great matchup for them on paper, just because of the length difference, the size difference that Duke has in the backcourt, in the front court, to just kind of make the shot making really difficult for Houston. Because Houston wants to get isolation jumpers. They want to get their occasional threes, mid-range shots, but it's just so much harder against Duke's length. And I think that's going to be one of the defining factors of this game, and why I really, even if I think the number's a little high, don't really want any part of Houston with the points here.
Yeah, that's my concern for this game is what if Houston doesn't score for 4 minutes? Like they're going to stretch, right? Like it feels like Duke can pull away at that time. Is there an opportunity in game if the game is sort of close, but we saw tonight with Auburn, sort of you could see them sort of fade offensively. Do you think there's a time to hop in mid game with Duke here if Houston sort of has that offensive lull?
I think the thing to watch with Houston is probably the foul trouble. Like they play such an aggressive brand of defense. What kind of whistle are we getting? It will play a big part in this. And of course, watch foul trouble. If you go back even to like Baylor and Duke in round 2, Baylor was hanging around for a while. And then Norchad Omier, who was kind of their only big at the time because of injuries, once he got his third, it got really ugly for Baylor in the paint. And so like if Juwan Roberts gets into foul trouble, if Tugler gets into foul trouble, this Houston team, which isn't dominant at the rim, like they're a great defense. They don't let you get to the rim, but they don't have like this dominant shot blockers necessarily. So you can get to the heart of this defense with some lobs, especially on the backside of when they swarm the pick and roll. That's where I think Duke could maybe open them up a little bit and could open up maybe a bigger lead if Tugler or Roberts get into foul trouble.
Great to be joined right now here on Live Bet Saturday by Anthony Dabbundo, who works for The Ringer, does outstanding work both on the written and the podcast side over there. And I can't help but laugh at looking at this odds screen lighting up in front of me, Anthony. I will end up taking a bad number here. I took under 136. We've had a bunch of people. Von Dalzell was on with us earlier, also likes under. Curious your thoughts on that, but also what your reaction is to some over steam right before tip. I mean, Caesars just went to 138, juiced over. People can't get enough of the over here. What say you on this total?
I'll tell you what, it's been a common theme all tournament. I'm not in front of the screen right now, but like as somebody who has sat in front of screens for a good bit of this tournament, we've seen it a lot. I mean, you can go back to even Elite Eight, Sunday when, Houston played against Tennessee. The over got steamed 2-3 points in the post. And what was the score at half? I mean, I think Houston had 15, Tennessee had 15 points. And then the Auburn-Michigan State over got steamed in the post, and it's been a common theme all tournament. I got 137. I'm going to feel just fine about my 137. We'll see how I look in 2 hours. I could look really dumb. But, yeah, it's been common this tournament. These over late moves have come pretty hard to the post. So not surprised by it, and I always respect the market, but I disagree here.
Any player props, Ian, Cooper Flagg? I mean, obviously he's been great this tournament. I'm kind of curious about his physicality against Houston. He's a young player. He looks strong, but you never know when you play a Houston team. Like any concern there for Cooper Flagg as far as his scoring tonight?
Yeah, the one guy with me for props is probably Knipple for Duke in terms of like looking at threes. Because, the big thing about this Houston defense is that they swarm and they scramble and they like to blitz the pick and rolls. And so if you have enough creators like a Flagg, like a Proctor, who can get over or around that defense and get through it, what usually happens, and when teams tear apart this Houston team, it's rare, but when it does happen, we've seen it from time to time, usually you get the three on the far wing corner that's open, right? They have to, when they leave to swarm the double teams and to kind of like scramble the defense, the backside corner is usually open. That feels like the Knipple corner of the evening. So if Duke's going offensively, I feel like Knipple, maybe not on the ball too much, but he's constantly the guy waiting to knock down pretty open threes on the backside of the Houston defense.
No doubt. He's Anthony Dabbundo. Great spot, Anthony. Appreciate you stepping outside. And hey, I'm glad the timing worked out in between the games. You check his work at Anthony Dabbundo, writer, podcaster for The Ringer. Appreciate the time as always, sir. Enjoy game number 2 tonight. Best of luck on all the plays.
Thanks for having me, guys.
And a reminder, as we are set to hit a break, if you're betting on baseball, and Geoff and I, we are, even if you cost degenerates, we're betting on baseball pretty much every night. Make sure you're getting the best odds with ProfitX. ProfitX, the first peer-to-peer sports exchange in the U.S., available in 40-plus states. That means you're betting against other fans, not the sports books, giving you on average 10 to 20% better odds. You can even request your own odds, so download ProfitX today. Use code VS. All right, we have an official tip time here, Geoff. We are going 9:20 p.m. Eastern. It's weird. I'm not usually on the East Coast for these marquee games, so it's very odd. But, I mean, it is Saturday night, so no one's going to complain.
The good thing about doing this show with you is I actually will stay awake for most of the game. I'm in bed. My wife falls asleep, got the iPad, watching the game. And there are times I wake up and the iPad's on the floor and I've fallen asleep. But not tonight. Tonight I get to watch a game with you. Look, if I get to watch late baseball tonight, like I get to watch it all because I'm here talking sports with you. So this is a win for me. It's a win to be here with you, but also awesome. A win that I'm staying awake for the entire game.
At least one win. I don't know about 2 wins, but at least one. We got another hour. We'll reset it, get you all set for Duke and Houston after this.